Hi everybody, it's that time again. Welcome aboard. If you're out there, please go ahead and feel free to join in. I am live now, just kind of hanging out here waiting for people to join in. If you're out there, give me a shout. If you're not, then you can't give me a shout. So hopefully you're there. Nice to see you, whoever's joining in. Happy lunchtime. Happy Friday. Yes. It's finally Friday. It feels like it's taken forever to get here. So this is the 5th in a row of my lunchtime talks. I appreciate everybody who's participated this week. It's been, hey Tish, Arish, happy Friday to you too. Thank you for joining me again. And today's topic, for those of you who have been visiting every day or seeing me every day, you know that I like to pick a topic for the day. And today's is happiness. And I really want to encourage everybody to join in and participate and really just kind of share what's what's been going on, what's making you happy these days. You know, it's hard. Hey, Stuart Adams, nice to see you, buddy. Gosh, it's been a while. I hope the weather over there in England isn't too bad for you. But thank you for joining in. So yeah, I wanted to encourage everybody to pipe in. You know, tell me what's been going on with you guys. I've found that my happiness is something that I've discovered internally, right? It's not something that I rely on external sort of validation or events or people for, right? They've said that, and I mean by they, the sort of stuff you see online and in all sorts of different sort of platforms, people often say that happiness is derived from, your own internal being, your own internal sort of sense of knowing and belonging. That you can't find happiness in other people or in things. And a lot of the stuff that we do, shopping, buying things, acquiring things, etc., that's escapism. It's thinking we're going to be happy by having that new thing or buying that new thing or being with that certain person or whatever. But really, it's kind of escapism in some respects. And I want to encourage people to sort of look at that in a realistic way. I think a lot of us have been, because we're cooped up in our own environments and our own houses, and we're not going out as much. We're not spending as much. I mean, maybe we are. Maybe you guys are, spending more online than you would do if you were out going shopping and, looking through the racks and shelves and things that, you might pick up and then put it down or whatever. You might be more encouraged to hit click and say, oh, I'm going to buy that because that's going to make me happy, or I need that, or whatever. So I guess from my point of view, what is happiness? What to me is happiness? And for me, happiness it's this sense of knowing. It's this sense of calmness that I feel, that I have inside of me, that that I'll be okay if I'm on my own, or I'm okay if I'm with people, or I'm okay if I'm not with people, kind of thing. And I'm okay if I'm not, doing something or buying something. I can still be happy. I can still be happy and content with what I have already, with where I am already. And that's really what I find true happiness really is. True happiness is this ability to be with yourself and not dwell on the sort of negatives, the misery, the the bad things that are going on in the world, the COVID-19s of this world, right? It's hard not to do that because we're surrounded by information that really kind of, like I said earlier in the week, it raises our anxiety levels, it raises our fears. It makes it so much more difficult to be happy and content. And I want to encourage everybody, out there, tell me what makes you happy. What makes you, feel content and happy in this moment in time while we're, stuck in. Anybody want to contribute? I'd appreciate it. I'd like to hear from you guys, but I don't want to just sit here and have you listen to me the whole time unless that's what you really want to do. But from my perspective, like I say, where I'm sitting here and viewing this from, happiness is something that, we all have within us. We just have to, kind of dig deep sometimes and, and feel that inner knowing, that sense that, we are happy with who we are, with where we are in our lives. Not everything is rosy. Not everything is peachy keen. There are, we're in tough times. There have been tough times before. Many of us as widows and widowers have experienced a lot of, negativity, a lot of unhappiness, a lot of grief. There's all sorts of, various different elements to, what we experience in our lives. Hang on, I'm going to let my cat out because she's standing by the door and, she needs to be happy too. So just bear with me for a second. I'm going to disappear from the screen for a second. Sorry about that. So, yeah, I think, from a realistic point of view, we as humans, seek happiness externally, and I don't know how that developed, in our psyche over time. I'm not a psychologist or whatever, but yeah, thanks, Kathy. I know my cat had to go out, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how this all developed. That we've kind of sought happiness elsewhere. When I think a lot of psychologists and human behavioral specialists keep telling us that happiness is found internally, right? And I kind of believe that. I really do, because otherwise, I think I'd probably be a pretty miserable person if and very unhappy person if it was outside of me that I was constantly seeking, happiness and validation. Because, I mean, let's face it, even our friends and family at the best of times aren't necessarily going to support us with, the kind of consistency that we want, that we need. Yeah, I mean, I just guess, what is happiness? Where is happiness, and what does it mean? What does it mean to you? And that's something that only each of us can define internally. Internally we have this sort of, this sense of knowing and understanding who we are. It's just a question of being able to really consistently get in touch with that sense of knowing. And I think that's where I, personally have been able to get to over this longer sort of 6-8 month period of time that I've been really consistently diving deep into my own kind of feelings and sense of knowing what I am and who I am. And that makes me a lot happier. It really does. There was a I remember it was a few years back, quite a few years back, maybe 10 years ago. I was listening to a couple of guys bantering on radio, and they were kind of, it was almost like the Cuomo brothers, if you guys have seen the kind of video that's been going around of the two of them bantering back and forth, telling them, mom loves me better than, you, or more than you, and that sort of thing. It was one of those kinds of things, and one of the guys says, you complete me, which I thought was, it was, in the context, it was really funny at the time. But that sentence, that statement, that sentiment, that somebody else completed him, is an interesting one, and I think it's critical to understanding what truly makes us happy. I complete myself, or at least I think I complete myself, and I feel like I complete myself. I am a whole person. My heart was broken when my wife died, and I was, in a completely different state of mind. I felt broken and incomplete, and not whole, and all of these things, and unhappy. And of course I was, because I was grieving, and grief has a tendency to do that to us. But since that time, I've really focused on what I felt and how I felt and what it was that I consistently needed to do to really feel happier, just in my own company, with myself, and I'm, again, capital S, self, my true self, getting back in touch with that self, that true, deep, inner knowing, and really kind of focusing on what within me was creating that sense of happiness, right? Whether it was memories of time that I spent together with my children when they were growing up, or with my wife when she was alive, or things that I did when I was younger that made me laugh and made me happy. These were all things that are internal to me and seen through my own mind's eye, rather than actual events or things that were happening to me at that moment. So memories are really important for happiness, and some memories are painful, so they can contribute to unhappiness. But consistently, if we view how we feel and how we sense and how we interpret our own feelings internally, we can really control our approach to happiness and what happiness truly means to ourselves, right? To each other, or to our own self, not to each other. So really, I mean, I think that happiness is a really it's an interesting concept, because, like I say, it is something that we can all control. It comes again. Yesterday I talked about choices and the roads that we choose to walk on, whether it's the black road or the red road in this Native American folklore. But realistically, we can choose to be happy or unhappy. We can choose joy instead of sorrow. We can choose love instead of hate, and positivity instead of fear. There's all sorts of things, and these are all choices. And my choice is to be happy, and to live in each moment without as much fear as possible, and try to alleviate any anxiety that I may feel about any situation, really. Yes, I still have fears. I still have things that affect me in negative ways, but I choose to be happy, and I choose to view things in a way that that makes it easier for me, And yes, Kathy, you're right. You enjoy life because it's just life. Right. Absolutely. I said, I don't know whether I actually put this video out. I can't remember whether it was one of the ones that I posted or not last week or so. But, and I hate to be stark and harsh about it all, but the moment we're born, we are sentenced to death, right? We have a death sentence. We have this finite period of time. We're born and we die. Some people don't make it, as long as others. That's just our nature. That's just humanity. It's life in general. I mean, squirrels get hit by cars all the time. They have a finite lifespan just like everybody else. It's it's sad. It really is sad, but that is the truth. It's a universal truth. That which is born will die. And if we can accept that, and this is part of, I guess, where happiness comes from, is accepting the fact that we are, finite beings. And once we've accepted that we're finite and that we have a finite, limited amount of time, then I think it really does become easier to find happiness in each moment and joy in each moment. Because there's this acceptance of the fact that, each moment is really a gift. It is a present, or the present, right? So if we accept that and we understand that, there's a myriad of choices that we can make, an infinite number of choices that we can make in any given moment that can make us happy. I mean, they can make us sad too. I mean, we could choose to do things that are, making us uncomfortable or sad or whatever. And we're not always going to be happy, right? I'm not trying to say that, I'm not trying to blow sunshine here that, everything's always going to be peachy keen and rosy. But if you make the choice in each moment that you are most comfortable with, I think you'll find yourself being happier than maybe you would be otherwise. So that's kind of really what I sense and what I believe happiness is within, our own personal control. I'd be really interested to hear what you guys think, what you believe, around happiness. Do you feel the same? Do you feel like it's a choice? Do you feel like you have to go out and seek it elsewhere? I often find people posting around, going to the beach and finding my happy place, right? The beach is a great place to go find happiness, right? But it's fleeting. Are you only happy when you're at the beach? This is what I'm trying to kind of figure out, really, and I'm asking you guys what you think, what you feel. Like I say, for me, happiness is an internal thing, and I can find moments of joy and happiness in everything, just in the sunshine. I woke up this morning, I looked out my windows because I don't have any curtains on my windows in my bedroom, and there was not a cloud in the sky to be seen. It was just beautiful blue sky here in Southern California. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it to rub it in. It just was. And I just thought, wow, it's a beautiful day. It's, and that makes me happy. Just knowing that I'm here and it's a beautiful day, that sense of knowing that I'm okay and the sun is shining, the sky is blue, the grass is green, all of these things that, I see and interpret in myself, makes me happy. But it's an internal feeling. It's an internal sense. And it's a choice. It's a choice to look at the world that way and say, oh, yeah, okay. Oh, God, there's COVID-19. I could have been negative. I could have woken up this morning and thought, oh, blue sky, no sun, no clouds, and I'm stuck in. It's negative. That's the kind of negative way of looking at it. The not so joyful way of looking at it, and the not so happy way of looking at it. So, yeah, I think from my perspective that was a really critical distinction between what I think and feel and how things are interpreted. And I do believe that we all have that choice. And I hope that if you're watching me and you're following along and you've been listening to me, and I'm sorry if I ramble or if I go off on tangents or whatever. I really want people to understand that despite all of these things, despite this sort of negativity that we're constantly bombarded with news and information and sensationalism and sensations that we feel as a result, this anxiety and fear that rise out of much of this stuff that we're exposed to, that we are actually we can be happy. Yeah, Tisharif, thank you. Yeah, it's a very pretty day. The roses are starting to bloom. Yeah, it is simple little things, and but it's also the choice. It's the choice to take those simple little things to you into your heart and into your sense of being and knowing and understanding that it's your choice to be happy about those things. Yeah, it's like I was saying, we could go the opposite direction. We could go the other way and say, dang it, there's just so much negativity out there in this world that I'm going to be unhappy about it. Well, that's a choice. That's a choice you can make. I personally choose not to. And it's funny, I was having this conversation with a friend, and she was telling me, hey, Anthony, thanks for joining. Nice to see you again, buddy. This friend was telling me, you're negative because you talk about all these negative memes and these negative news stories and these things. And it's not that I'm negative. It's that I'm conveying what I see and what I interpret, right? I'm not being negative about it. I actually am really indifferent about most things that I see and read and watch on TV. And, hi, Christy. Nice to see you. The things that I see and the things that I'm exposed to, the memes, the news cycles, everything, all these, sensational things that, a lot of us tend to take to heart, or we there's a word that we use in my coaching practice, which is called embodiment, right? And embodiment means taking in and feeling in the body what your sensations are, right? So, as an example, for instance, the body has a memory, right? The body remembers. Anybody who's ever been abused or physically will know that there are certain parts of the body that they are really sensitive about, right? They don't want to be touched there or whatever, and rightly so. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that we experience in our lives that our bodies remember, right? So that's part of embodiment, and embodying happiness is a sensation, right? So I once asked somebody, a coaching client, what she felt when she was happy. What color would she give that happiness? And she actually said orange. And I said, well, what else is orange? That comes to mind, immediately. And she's like, oh, the sun. And I said, well, right, okay. So being out in the sunshine, does that make you happy? And she said, yes, of course it does. And I said, so what other, can you actually ascribe that color or put that color into certain negative things that you think about, right? Say like a fight that she might have had with her husband. Would she be able to ascribe that same orangeness to, that happiness to the relationship that kind of soured with her husband after that fight? And she said she never would have thought about it that way. She never would have actually envisaged, the fight and the aftermath of that fight as something positive and building if, you know, she hadn't been able to kind of, you know, change the way she perceived that relationship. And, you know, it doesn't always work. You know, I'm not saying that that's a, you know, it's a be all end all or, you know, a rosy picture, right? But the reality is that, you know what, we have a choice of how we, of how we look at things and how positive we can be about things and how happy and joyful we can be about things. You know, there's all sorts of ways that you can, you can view this, you can sense this, and you can feel this, and it does take practice. I'm not saying that it's, you know, it's easy and that it's happens overnight. I talked about yesterday the UC Berkeley Greater Good Science Center. There's some exercises on there that I've done, that I've used. You have to dig around, you know, just go in there and dig around, and you can find some exercises on happiness, and how you can learn and shift your mindset around it, and mindset is a huge thing, because our minds are not just our brains. Right? Our body is part of our mind, right? Our body feeds into our minds because we have all of these nerves and we have these, digestive enzymes that and bacteria, good bacteria that we have in our bodies that help feed our systems. And I think if you've listened to me and you've heard me and you've seen what I've written, our hearts are our powerhouse. They are the centers of our universe, right? Everything we do, everything we feel, everything we sense really comes from our hearts, because without our hearts, we just don't live, right? You can be brain dead. And as long as your heart is pumping blood, I've said this before, as long as your heart is pumping blood and your powerhouse is circulating your blood, you are alive. Technically, you are a living person. So without your heart, you don't exist. You know, you no longer exist as a person, as this meat suit, right? Your heart is your powerhouse. Your, the center of your being as a human. It's not your soul. It's not, whatever you may believe, but it is it is what keeps you human, right? And to learn to live from that space means that you have to, choose to live from that space, and you have to choose things like kindness or happiness or joy, or you can choose to close that off, or you can constrict that sensation, that feeling, and that's when we live out of our ego, and we succumb to what I describe as the small self, the one that is more selfish, as opposed to self-ish being the bigger, capital S self, which is living from the heart, living from a sense of purpose and understanding of ourselves. And I'm not trying to be sort of obtuse or esoteric about all of this, or devalue what people think and feel and believe. I'm just trying to convey what my sense of inner knowing, right? This embodiment of what happiness means to me. Kathy, that is a really good point. Living for the moment means, sometimes that, your happiness is interrupted by the moment. Whatever, happens in that moment can interrupt your happiness. But as I like to say, every moment presents us with an infinite number of choices. And we can choose to, be unhappy or be happy or whatever in each moment. And I get it, that's not always the case, because physiologically we can't, necessarily always control what's going on, right? Our bodies are bodies with their, these meat suits that we have, that, these avatars that we walk around the earth in, that, push us along the path of life. And they deteriorate, and, we grow old, and our bodies stop, stop functioning the way they're supposed to, and things start to sag and go south, as they say, and, that's just part of it, Like I said, everything is finite, and with the exception of our energy and our ability to relate to each other and to love, really, and these those things are what truly make us human. And in this moment in time, as we're kind of self-quarantining in many places, sheltering in place around the world, this sense of community, this moment that we're living in right now, is giving us a real sense of what it truly means to be human again. And I just want to kind of finish up by saying, happiness is most definitely a choice, and I hope that you will all choose happiness and joy, and not dwell on the negatives and the negativity that we sense comes out of a lot of the the news cycles and things that we see and read and hear. Find what works for you. Find what makes you feel good, right? Find what makes you feel happy, and just sit with that feeling for a few minutes if you can. Just focus on that that feeling inside of you, right? For me, it's a sense of really truly living from my heart, and that to me is expansive. I feel myself giving of my heart to everyone, to everything, right? And that's what truly makes me happy. And those of you who know me, who've spoken with me personally, like you, Jim, and you, Anthony, and Christy, and a few others who've been on this, Stuart, you guys know me. You know that I'm a generous, giving, loving, caring person, and that's what I'm all about. So anyway, thank you ever so kindly for joining me. This is the end of week 1. Week 2 starts on Monday, 12 o'clock noon Pacific Standard Time. I really hope to see you all again. I'll send out, I'll put out a reminder either late Sunday or early Monday to ask you to join me again. But thank you ever so much for sharing this time with me. I really appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. Yeah, Anthony, thank you. We are. But everybody is too. We're survivors, and, every day we live, we survive, right? We're surviving, right? But the difference is, I want us to go from surviving to thriving, right? And there is a difference. And if I can do my little bit to help you, Kathy, Anthony, thank you for joining me all week. And if I can help you in any way, shape, or form that helps you to go from survivor to thrive, that's my gift to you. It's my pleasure. That's what truly makes me happy, is knowing that, I'm helping. I know you are. I know you are, Anthony, and I'm sure you will get there. I'm positive, and I hope you do soon. All right. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. I really appreciate you guys joining me, and hope to see you again on Monday. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.